We're live. So I just want to interject very quickly. I haven't really got here. I just need to go pee. I'll be back any second. Okay.
Well, everybody all missed it. I just gave you the exact date of when the meteor is going to hit. So everybody here is prepared because the meteor is even the asteroids have had it with Earth. So the meteor is coming. So y'all have the date I gave you, so you know exactly where to go, where you'll be safe. And if you missed it, viewers, sorry. It's my brain just
so all that about painting yourself all over a particular color to reflect the blast. That's bullshit.
Oh no, that's true. I just forgot what the color is. I knew it a minute ago, but I don't know what it is now.
I've seen the movie with Sean Connery, so I know exactly what to do when a meteor hits.
Yeah. Dressed like Zardoz?
But no, Chris, Meteor. Don't you remember that movie, Meteor?
Yeah.
Chris,
you didn't have to paint yourself a certain colour now.
An asteroid's going to hit Earth, but you have never considered maybe meteors and asteroids that said we're not worth fucking crashing into.
Oh, hey, I was going to say, I finally watched Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. I bought it on 4K in like June.
Yeah, it's a funny one, isn't it?
Not great, not terrible. It's average.
It just rolls over you, doesn't it?
Is it a cash grab? Because a lot of people said it was a cash grab. That was the issue with it. It felt like a cash grab.
The funniest thing about this movie is you can tell how much Bill Murray does not want to be there. It's hilarious.
What was he even doing there? It looked like they'd sort of dangled a packet of Werther's Original in his general direction and sort of led him onto the set.
My view is it's indifferent. It had its moments. It's one of those where you kind of forget while you see it. It doesn't make you angry. It doesn't make you excited. They
would definitely go in for the real Ghostbusters cartoon vibe with it, weren't they? You know,
that's the only thing I liked about it.
Yeah.
Janine's a Ghostbuster now, so
are they doing a third one?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, they are.
Although this one, I think barely. The budget was $100 million. It made $200 million, so I don't think this made a lot of money for them. But apparently, there's going to be a third one. I'm like, it's better than 2016, which I still have never watched. Noel was going to force me to watch it a few years ago.
Yeah, that's better than getting me also goodbye by a sailor. Yes, okay.
I just don't think you can make Ghostbusters a franchise. I think
you
talk about the original
in the 80s with
Afterlife would seem to suggest that you can.
Yeah, well, I would say it's not Ghostbusters to an extent, though, because the first one, the first one was comedy. You know,
what Ghostbusters needs to do work is have comic actors. Like you need to have the current Saturday Night Live. If they hand it over to the current Saturday Night Live crew or whoever it was, who is ever hot right now, right, and have them front it, and hand over to them, then it would work. But it's not trying to be that. Right,
give
it's
us
more
a new cartoon.
Family drama, and the second one it was like this gay stuff. Who gives a shit?
Yeah, there was some definite DEI in this. But no, it's I miss the cartoon. I'm sure we're all of the same age where we lived and breathed by that cartoon 40 years ago. I watched it every morning before school. I taped them. I've got like half the series on DVD. I need to get the other half.
Yeah,
you know what? We should be celebrating. James Bond managed to outweigh the DEI era. Right?
No, they did have that one movie.
Well, apparently, but apparently on that, they're apparently supposed to be going back to a kind of a slapstick, well, not slapstick, but kind of going back to the cheeky era of Bond now with the
cheeky.
With the new
I'm just amazed. I mean, it's great to have.
I like the serious Bond. And people like the old Roger Moore.
Oh, I can really go for like a
bit of a joke, to be quite honest with you.
I like a good hybrid myself, like in the 1990s, a good splicing of the two different flavors of Bond, and I don't think you can go far wrong. I'm just grateful that you guys have turned up again this week after Star Trek sort of took a proper nosedive last week. So some of you were here last week for that. The assault on all things Trek. But we are back, everybody, for another conversation, and we've got a live chat that's filling up already. Thank you, everybody who's here. Let's get into it properly.
Execute beam transfer. Show me these Quinsworth toys.
Okay, Dart, let's look at the scanner. Jedi speeder bike, $6.99. Scout Walker, only $14.99. Cindy's new Super Home, $49.95. Fisher Price Activity Centre, $14.95. Chatter Telephone, $7.99. Tiny Tears Doll, $14.95. Monopoly, only $8.99. Evil Knievel Stunt Cycle, $14.95. And the Atari Video Computer with 2 free cartridges, £113.
I am impressed.
The biggest range of toys with many at last year's prices at your local Quinsworth store now.
I am impressed. That's what passes for Star Wars coverage on the show, isn't it? Welcome back to the Spacebook. Not just talking all out there entertainment, but live streaming it to you on YouTube and Rumble too, here on our Geeky Pop Culture Show. It's Saturday, the 1st of February, 2025. And I'm Dan Hadley, Birmingham's king of the geeks. I've got an assortment of space invaders with me, right? Well, spaced out invaders, maybe somewhere in between. I think I've got so I've got the rabbi from another planet directly below. We've got Noel Glynn from the TARDIS Zone and the Noel Zone. We've got the mighty Bolstrek and Frank there.
Hey,
what's happening to Frank? We'll find out in a second. John Yulden's over that corner, and we've got Gary Akers as well. They're in the captain's hat on deck. Good to see you too, Gary. And my God, have we got some stuff to get into this time for your Saturday night in fine voice. But are the minds working, Rabbi? I know that you've been all over it all week. We'll probably touch on some of that. Yes, well, that's whatever else has been going on in movies, TV, comic books, and more across sci-fi, fantasy, and horror, and anything that you can geek out about. We'll land on it a bit like this. Really, I love all this sort of stuff. I'm not a big gamer, but that cabinet artwork from back in the day, that really does take me back. You know, putting your money in the slot and lasting about 30 seconds until the.
Apparently, Colin Brockhurst, who does Vault Vault magazine, I was reading it over Saturday. It's just awesome. Right, I taught myself into buying that Blake 7 thing that was the magazine, and they delayed publication for it. I did, but I was like, okay, I got to get this thing right. It looks so good. Anyway, his other job is restoring cabinet arcade stuff. So I bet he's got some of those.
I'd say yes. I'm not a gamer at all. John, are you?
Yeah, gamer. Obviously not the last few years after the way they've screwed them all up with their DEI cobblers, but prior to that, I mean, since I was
you don't like The Last of Us Part 2?
Yeah. Well, I mean, what's going on in that one, mate? You know, they seem to be pushing something about a lesbian relationship.
I mean, it's like they're allergic to money.
Yeah. Well, again, just on that subject, have you seen that they've laid off a load of people from studios?
Couldn't get it. Honestly, I wasn't a gamer to start with.
Well,
the games I've played,
they all deserve it.
Like Last of Us and Alien Isolation, which was awesome.
Oh, that's terrifying.
I love Alien Isolation. That was a really good game. I also played Portal 2. Portal 2 was very good.
Yeah.
I am finally going to get me a 9th generation console at some point this year. I might go back to PlayStation. I don't know. It's Sony, although it's the problematic end of Sony. But
I'll put up a play Mass Effect.
I need one that has a drive, even though I already have like multiple players. I need my physical media.
Speaking of which, you think of going to Sony, which has I guess they have their streaming stuff bundled into it. There's a rumor out last week that there's a rival bid for Paramount, which is Star Trek and Mission Impossible. And they're saying that Elon Musk is behind it. This is just pure fantasy. But if X incorporates a streaming service, which has all of Star Trek in it for $8.99 a month, I'm in.
Yeah,
well, they do plan on turning it into a video platform, which he hopes to compete with YouTube.
In the mobile one, there's a video tab now.
I don't think it's him, and the reason I say that is because I think the press the article was it's a billionaire backed by a billionaire involved in the space program, which I thought could be Bezos, because he's involved in it, and he's a massive Star Trek fan. And
that would be
oh, he is, yeah.
That would be he's Lord of the Rings, so I mean, he can ruin Star Trek as well. He's already ruined Lord of the Rings, so he ruined Star Trek as well.
Star Trek's that ruined that he's actually it's not just a corpse. He's going to actually try and push it into hell now.
No, look, honestly, I think Elon Musk could have saved it. I think Elon Musk could have brought it back. Anybody could.
I disagree. I don't think Elon is what everybody makes him out to be. He talks about hold on, because he talks about certain issues. Yeah, he lets certain accounts thrive on his platform. He's a hypocrite. He needs the money because
that's not being a hypocrite. That's being believing in free speech.
Line. He messed up the app, but now he's trying to charge everybody.
Right, he says they have a right to say what they want to say.
Because he tried to pull out the deal. He didn't want to buy it. You know, he was just showing off in front of his mates, and then when he actually realised that it was going to cost billions.
There you go. Sorry. Can you hear me?
Obviously, I mean, you can always find a bigger hypocrite, can't you? We are very blessed with them in Britain, as you've probably seen this week.
Oh God, stop! I can't.
We have an abundance of hypocrites.
You know what I'm saying?
Go on, Rabbi. Rabbi, you pick it up.
I don't think it's hypocritical of him to allow speech he disagrees with on X.
No,
and also, I don't mind that he enforces it unevenly because he's a quirky human being, right? That's kind of like what Doctor Who would do, right? It's like I really don't mind that he breaks his own rules here and there, right? That just makes him human to me.
Part of me worries that that's actually him dressed up in drag with heels on, you know. And
that's Elon Musk in that picture.
That could well be. That's what he's like as his sex parties. You know, he's like got a weird sex life, Kiss.
Well, how can you take a leader that serious when he's standing beside a clown?
Yeah, if you follow religious dogma, at some point before the end times, Satan comes to Earth and becomes powerful.
We've just lived through that.
Well, no. I think he may be in charge of one of the countries. It may have something.
No, okay. This is what I think. Satan had control over America and like the Western world, and it's retreated to England. It's fine.
Well, all I'll say to you is, from a biblical perspective, the Antichrist is meant to be liked and a peacemaker.
Oh, so it's not him then?
It's not him.
Yeah. Although, is there a political leader ever that is easier to imagine being fucked in the arse by a dominatrix with a strap on?
The one in Germany.
No, there isn't. That's his natural position.
I'd rather be led by this guy myself. I think I'd be happy with the fate of the nation.
It's Alex Kurtzman.
Hey, it's if you want to see funny interviews, if you saw Red Letter Media's review of Section 31.
Yes,
I did see.
Awesome.
Yeah,
it was almost worth Section 31.
Sorry, what was that, Rabbi?
It was almost worth Section 31.
Yes,
so we could get their take on it, which was hilarious.
What do you think? Because it's a week since we got together, a few of us, to talk about Section 31, and it had only just dropped 24 hours before. It really was just the beginning, wasn't it? Because that film, it wasn't just us at all. It has been slated beyond slated. That has to be the darkest week in Star Trek history.
Yeah, well, it's I've almost everybody except for a couple special people over on Blue Sky. Everybody absolutely hates this, except for the people with the usual thing in their bios that call it fun because they have to, or they'll be canceled by the cancelers and banned. But no, it's this is universally hated. It's actually funny watching the absolute shills that are trying to defend this. I think actually Red Letter Media showed some of them in their video. It's worth watching just for like it's fun. I mean,
I'm not one for the website Rotten Tomatoes. I find it all a bit outdated, and I never used to go there anyway in the first place. And the disparity between the critics and audience scores, I think that belied the fact that it was compromised to one degree or another. But when you go over there now and you look at this, and Gary sent me the figures for this, you see that the critics score is 19%, and the audience score is 16%.
Yeah,
Everyone fucking hates this thing.
You got to appreciate that culture changed to make it they're allowed to say the emperor's got no clothes. Pre-Trump, they would not be able to say it. Now they're able to say. Now they're able to say what they think.
This section 31 though has to highlight that Alex Kurtzman is way over his head when it comes to showrunning.
I don't know the sad thing is
in a direction, because let's be honest, you know, I did like the 4th season of Strange New Worlds. Okay?
Yeah,
I think most of us did.
I did like the Picard series, especially the 3rd one. Well, the 3rd series,
I only like the
last series. Yeah, that was the last one, the 3rd one. Yeah, the 3rd one was very good, but that was done by Terry, wasn't it? So Kurtzman didn't really have his fingers on that. But there is a serious issue here. I mean, Kurtzman is not a sci-fi writer, and it's the same issue that we have with Doctor Who. RTD is also not a sci-fi writer either. No matter what the people say, he's more of a drama writer. He likes doing those, you know, those type of things. This is the problem that we have with sci-fi. You can't bring in writers that are not specialized in this topic and expect them to create miracles. It's not going to happen. It might work once in a while. It might work once in a while, but when it comes down to it, you know, Trek fans, Doctor Who fans want their shows to be well written. Character development, plot development is very important as well, but also that little bit of intelligence which is lacking in sci-fi at the moment, particularly under Kurtzman and RTD. I mean, it's absolutely shocking that this has been allowed to happen to 2 of the most iconic franchises that we actually have out there. Trek and Doctor Who, they're up there. They're the benchmark for science fiction, right?
Not anymore.
Look at them now. They're completely and utterly destroyed. And it's a shame, really. And it's negligence from the people that are also behind it, because, you know, they don't realize how much these franchise means to a lot of people. And
Noel, it's going to get worse.
I'm a Trekkie.
I mean, you'd like to think this has to be the end. That as regards,
it isn't. Alex
Kurtzman.
Starfleet Academy is still coming.
Oh no!
Look at the cast.
I think they turned off the faucet. I think we're in the last cast of Doctor Who. We've got 12 more episodes of the Rusty Davies era. Whatever's in the can, fine. I don't think we're getting. I think it's going to go fallow for a couple of years as they have to reboot everything to turn the ship, because they don't have a choice. Right?
I think it's going to be longer.
They don't have a choice. There might be a 3rd season of Doctor Who, which is going to be not in 2006. I think. I doubt there's going to be a special, and it might be a low budget thing, which is great, and it won't be with Shooting Hour.
Right? Then it'll be a wrap. It's a wrap.
To save these branches briefly, and then I'll hand over to someone else. But to save these franchises now, they have to go back to basics. They have to go back what made these shows good, and they need to bring in people that can write science fiction as well. If they don't do that and they continue going down the same vein, as people have said, Trek and Doctor Who will disappear from the screens. No matter, you know, they might drag it through for a few more years, you never know, right? But at the end of the day, they'll be completely dead. Fans have tuned out, and proper fans have tuned out, because no Star Trek fan or no Doctor Who fan in their right mind is calling that shit Doctor Who and Star Trek. I'm telling you now, they're not. Yeah. They're not.
It's been a strange week, because it started with the premiere of Section 31, the Star Trek thing. Within a couple of days, Doctor Who announced somebody who is a genuine threat to children, a danger to children, as joining their show. And then over on the MCU, you've got a guy who doesn't seem to even believe in the American way of life or American values, who's playing one of their major characters. So it's all gone a bit haywire, I think.
But they're doing it to themselves, though. They're doing it to themselves, though.
Yeah.
Before we get into that, though, I do want to look at this. So this is something that's coming from Netflix. Now, I used to be able to trust Netflix. I used to think Netflix was the way of the future. They were quite reliable, and I used to find a lot to watch. And that now, not so sure. They have fumbled just as many balls as most of the places over the last 2 to 3 years. But they had announced something this week that sort of piqued my interest, or more. Well, I think it was announced a while ago, but I never really believe anything until I see some pictures of it, before I know that it's actually on the way. So in 1996, we were introduced to Happy Gilmore, the star of a sleeper hit comedy which starred Adam Sandler. At the time, I'd never heard of him at all, but he's coming back to the green for a sequel, which is going to be on Netflix. He's bringing along a few new and familiar faces and names from that original film, including Julie Bowen and Christopher McDonald, who are both in the original movie. And we've got some images, some brand new images from Happy Gilmore 2. At long last, Adam Sandler's now, I think he's come up to 60, he's like 59, 60 years of age, something like that. And it does look like, it does look like he can still lose his shit with the best of them. Here he is giving it some there on the 18th, the 8th hole, that would be, wouldn't it? So any Happy Gilmore fans here? Because I love this film back in the 90s.
I love the first movie, and I think this movie is going to suck.
Yeah,
Adam Sandler has a problem now. He does. He seems to want to go back and relive glory days. Listen, those movies worked back then, right? I mean, Happy Gilmore was a good movie, right? It wouldn't work today. Well, Happy Gilmore wouldn't work today. It was a different sort of comedy. I don't think this movie's this screams cash grab to me. Netflix have given them a shitload of money over the years to do some movies. Some have been okay. Some have been pretty poor.
Well, Netflix, they'd have you believe, Noel, that Netflix has been responsible for a bit of a resurgence in Adam Sandler's fortunes, because it was looking quite bad for him for a little while. He had flop after flop after flop, and then he went to Netflix, and there were several films which seemed to do quite well. In recent years, there have been several Netflix movies which I've avoided like the plague. I didn't look, for example, at Coming to America 2. I heard far too many bad reviews about that, and yet the fourth Beverly Hills Cop movie, Axel F, that was fantastic. It was a really good time.
I was going to say that. If they do it like Beverly Hills Cop, it's going to be good.
I'm waiting for them
exactly like the bit was before.
I'm still waiting for
one. I thought was that really worked.
Well, I'm waiting for Netflix to announce The Golden Child.
No,
another Golden Child.
Into the catalog. I'm actually just sorry. I will definitely be watching this because I really loved Happy Gilmore. I'm just sorry that Bob Barker's not going to be in this one.
Yeah.
Or Carl Weathers, sadly.
Or Richard.
So close.
They're doing Little House on the Prairie as well. They're doing Little House on the Prairie, Netflix.
Yeah, I saw that. Those were pre-existing books, weren't they? Before the TV,
Yeah,
I was never very keen on those TV shows and the Waltons and all that sort of stuff. But I know that the books have got a massive following. I mean, how about you, John? You know, you're a bit of a '90s aficionado as well, aren't you? Was this something you used to take out of the VHS rental shop?
Yeah, I mean, I've got this. I adore the original. I would kind of agree with Noel. Really, I'm not looking forward to it. I think the first one works so perfectly, and I just don't think you can recreate it. And I'm at a point now where I'm so fed up of hearing about sequels and reboots as opposed to new ideas. And it's just flooded. I think I saw something else advertised the other day where they're doing a sequel to it or they're doing a reboot, and
there's something announced. Well, something is rumored and in the press all the time. I mean, what strikes me about this, Chris, is looking at a picture now of a nearly 60-year-old Adam Sandler, and this is not being remotely ageist, but now I'm looking at a film about a grumpy old man kicking off, and I think, well, I'm sure that'll be good, and I'm sure that Adam Sandler can still do that. But I think the reason why the original film was so successful is that he really was quite young. He was in his, how old would he have been? Late 20s, early 30s. But he was so grizzly, so grumpy. It was sort of older than his years. And I think that was the selling point of the film. Whereas with this, it's another film about another grumpy old bloke losing his grumpy old shit. So
the problem See, I love early Adam Sandler, even the bad movies. Like I've got a whole Adam Sandler section. It's like if I'm in my bad mood, which is often, I go to my 90s, early 2000s Adam Sandler. It's like, you know,
film.
And Nicolas Cage are like my happy places. But unfortunately, you have pre Jack and Jill and Pixels Adam Sandler, and then you have post Pixels and Jack and Jill Sandler, and I think I've made an attempt to watch a couple of his Netflix movies and I've just turned them off. I will probably end up skipping this unless I'm really bored. But I agree that I am sick of remakes. And somebody in the chat said Little Nicky too. I'm one of the 5 people that likes Little Nicky. Please don't. But no, I'm sick to death of remakes, sequels, reboots. Like there, maybe 10 years ago, there was a novelty when you have an X-Files or something like that coming back.
Yeah.
But we've had 10 years of everything coming back. Nothing has equaled the original. I guess the occasional one may have been close, but nothing's actually equaled the original. It's diminished it. In some cases, it's destroyed the original franchises or original movies.
I'll say most cases.
Yeah, I'd say 99.9%.
Yeah. You know what they used to do that really worked? Right, they used to have the same creative team do different movies, like not necessarily linked, like The Road to Cairo, The Road to this. It was like, when they do that, why don't they have like, you know, I think they have quite a fun movie on Netflix. It was Gal Gadot, Ryan Reynolds, and The Rock.
I remember that one. It was
was it called Red Notice or something like that?
I know, something like that. It was fun. It was a fun little movie. Yeah. Then I heard they're doing another movie together, but not in the same universe. I'm like, brilliant! That's perfect. Just have them do that.
Is it so similar to when, for example, Kathleen Turner and Michael Douglas, they did the 2 Jewel of the Crown, Jewel in the Nile films, and then they did the War of the Roses thing, and so they
Like Adam Sandler. It's Jewel of the Nile. It's Romance in the Stone and Jewel of the Nile.
Yeah, maybe they should have just leaned into the whole age issue for this one and just called it Grumpy Old Golfers.
I mean,
or Grumpy Gilmore. I'd call it that.
When you look at the original, when you're talking about plots, it works very well with the fact he's doing this because he needs checks to save his grandma's house.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the key to the first film. Now, like Chris was talking about sequels, and I agree that there's too many of them, but you then he'll come back for some particular reason that they'll just throw in. Oh, I need to make more money, and it just doesn't touch it. It doesn't strike you as well as the original does. And again, there's some great comedy moments in that first one. And what's his name? He was Jaws in Bond.
Yeah, Richard Kiel.
Yeah. Richard Kiel is phenomenal in it. It's just there's so many good elements about the original, and I'm actually at a point now with how many things have been destroyed over the last few years. I'm almost getting a bit protective of these films and these shows and saying, leave it alone. I don't want you to touch it because you'll just turn it to crap.
Because it's not. I'm a huge fan of Sylvester Stallone, and in between every time there's been like a big gap of time in between Rocky movies or where he's been able to recreate that role. He's been interviewed about that character and said, "Oh, I love playing that character. Any chance I get, I really miss that character." And so when he reappears in whatever project, again playing Rocky Balboa, you see, well, this is coming from a genuine place. There's a real a connection with that character, a compulsion to tell a further story. I don't think I have seen Adam Sandler interviewed so many times over the years. For years, he never mentioned the fact that he even made this movie. And so I am a little suspicious that he's now happy to pick up the club and get out there and start screaming at the balls again and doing the whole thing.
Part of the name of his production company is Happy Madison, so make sure.
Oh, of course. Yeah, that's fair play.
Movies. So it's but I know he had a string of successful movies, but I think he eventually became much more known for The Wedding Singer, which I think is probably
it's his most commercial film, isn't it?
Of the 90s, one of the top 5.
That's my favorite movie.
A lovely film in many respects.
Now, I would love a sequel to that, but the sequel wouldn't work. But if I was to do a sequel, it'd be to The Wedding Singer, because The Wedding Singer featured the 80s. So for the sequel, you could have them in the 90s.
Drew Barrymore.
Personally, that's just me. I know it wouldn't work. But I'm just saying.
They did that weird Netflix movie he did a year ago called Spaceman, which I quite liked. It was a very contemplative.
He's done several. He has done several like that. He's
a good serious actor.
Kind of weird. I really liked it.
I think.
I'd like to see him do more serious roles instead of the comedic roles. I think he's good when he does serious roles.
As John said, there have been several. Spanglish was like 20 odd years ago, wasn't it?
You're right. I forget the name of the film as well, where he
Punch Drunk Love was.
Yeah, and there's the one where his family have died.
Rain Over Me. That's a fucking cracking movie. Rain Over Me. One of his best performances.
He's very good in that. He just sits in his room and plays games, doesn't he? And he's it's Rhodey, isn't it? Who's from Marvel, who's in it with him.
Yeah.
Which one? Terrence Howard or the other one?
The inferior one.
Yeah, Don Cheadle. What happens is he loses his family during 9/11. Adam Sandler, he locks himself away. He keeps buying paint because before his wife died, she wanted him to paint the kitchen. And he even has dreams about the dog because he fucking hated the dog. But he's basically having some sort of breakdown. And then he bumps into his old college friend one night. And then it just goes on this amazing fucking journey. I mean, Adam Sandler in it, he is brilliant. He's an emotional range in it as well. This guy can seriously act. I'm not messing. You know what? It fascinates me because Robin Williams has done it. Jim Carrey has done it. You know, these comedic actors, right? They've done a series of serious roles, or they've done a couple of serious roles. And you can tell that these lads can actually act. They're absolutely brilliant. They are. And this movie, Rain Over Me, if you haven't seen it, check it out. And by the way, the soundtrack is pretty good as well in it as well. He's a big music buff in it as well. He kind of has little cushions, things that help him deal with it. But then when his mate comes into the situation, it kind of upsets the apple cart. And then his emotion starts coming out. And then there's a big reveal. And it's deadly, man. It's good
well,
stuff.
I think, my theory, well, I don't even know if it's much of a theory, but it's a lot harder to be a comedic actor than it is to be a serious actor. If you're going to be a comedian that's actually going to make, people laugh, that takes a special gift. And I think most comedic actors, maybe not all, but most of them, when they do serious work, I'm like, think of Kelsey Grammer, who, the character of Frasier, which has had 3 iterations now, one of the funniest characters you'll ever meet. When he does serious, that man is absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Oh, what's that show where he was the mayor? It was called Boss or something?
Yeah, Boss.
He was really scary in that.
Yeah, like it's so I'm always interested when a comedic actor actually does, like we always remember when Jim Carrey did Man on the Moon, and I'm like, my God, this guy can act. Well, of course he can act. And
I think they don't know. I think these comedians go into acting and they become good at it. And I think they don't realize they're great, dramatic actors as well by becoming good, comedic actors, and then they branch out and they go, "Wow."
I think it's also when they do stand up as well. It's all about timing, and it's all about making sure you hit your beats right. And I think moving into doing an actual acting role from there and doing the comedic side as well, if you're hitting your beats. And you're thinking along the stand-up route, that gives you enormous advantage, and that's why they're able to go into serious acting as well, because they've just drilled themselves into doing it that way. That's
Steve Carell has done some great drama.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, yeah.
So is Jason Alexander. Every other role he's done is the exact opposite of George, and they're all. And I can't name them off, but I've seen him in several just low budget, almost independent movies where he's typically a very sympathetic character. I always would have been curious to see Jerry Seinfeld do something serious, because that would have been interesting to see, but he basically decided to stick with Jerry Seinfeld and did a movie about cereal, and that's about it.
That was
so
who are these people?
Just to move things on a little now, whether you are a 90s kid or simply somebody who loves Adam Sandler, I sincerely hope that a sequel to Happy Gilmore does deliver, because I'm really fond of that original film, and I like to see this bloke do good stuff. And obviously, I pay for Netflix, so a nice evening in front of the TV with a few genuine laughs would never go amiss. I also wanted to quickly mention this too, though, for 80s kids. So skipping back a decade, by the power of Grayskull, there, a very pink-skied Eternia, of course, but the skies are somewhat lowered this evening as we broadcast to you. I mean, I'm always very wary of this show becoming an obituary every week, but there are some individuals when they leave us, you can't just leave it. And even though the name John Irwin probably doesn't mean as much to most of us as some of the other voice artists, I think that he had arguably one of the most recognisable voices on kids' TV, certainly through the 80s, probably of all time, when he voiced He-Man and Prince Adam on the Masters of the Universe series from 1983 through to 1986. Here he is. There's John. He's passed away at the age of 88. So he was originally just a jobbing actor and voice artist from the 50s right the way through to the sort of the 90s, the early noughties, really, where he kind of went into retirement. And so he just did whatever, wherever, picked up his money and buggered off home. And these were cheap shows. And so John viewed himself very much, even though he was voicing the lead, he viewed himself on Masters of the Universe as one of a company of actors, really. So he didn't just voice the title character. There was all sorts of others too. But when I saw that John had died, I did get a pang of sadness. Again, we say this all the time, 88 is a good old age. This was quite a long time ago.
Yeah, he all grew up with that cartoon. If you didn't grow up with that cartoon, there's something wrong with you. I think we all did. He impacted so many people's lives with that character. I mean, listen, I loved He-Man. Who didn't? I was a big fan of Thundercats as well. I know that's Thundercats a different show, but I love Thundercats as well. But He-Man and
have they ever made a Thundercats movie? I mean, thank
Heaven knows.
I don't want them to. I do not want them to.
A lot of these voice actors went from show to show to show, and so they all worked with one another. And John didn't just voice He-Man and Prince Adam, as I said. He was also Ram Man. He was Whiplash, Faker. He was Beast Man too. A character called Evil Seed, according to my list, and loads and loads more.
Hey, Dad, I had to tell you, when you introduced this news item, I thought you were going to tell me that Man at Arms was found dead of autoerotic asphyxiation, found hanging in his closet with a satsuma in his mouth, right? Found by Orko. Like, oh my God, no!
I bet your favorite, I bet Rabbi's favorite He-Man character though was Fisto.
But in all sincerity, even if you haven't watched Masters of the Universe for years and years and years, if you sort of just think to yourself for a second or two, you can hear that voice ring back in your ears with that reverb that it had on it. Gary, do you remember?
Yeah. And the thing about it is I think this was true of this cartoon as well. If you watch the credits, there's usually maybe only like 8 or 9 voice actors listed because they all did multiple voices.
Yeah.
For the episodes. And, I was just thinking there's no way that they could, bring this back now, because He-Man would be a trigger word. Master would be a trigger word. They'd have to totally change.
Get Neil Gaiman in it.
Everything
hold on, hasn't Kevin Smith done a version of He-Man that's gone down?
It was awful.
We don't talk about that.
We
don't talk about that. No, that's terrible.
Is that traumatizing for you all on the panel?
Well, to be fair, I mean, I did a bit of a rant video about that once, but there have been 4 other animated incarnations of Masters of the Universe since this original one. But I've watched them with my kids and things like that, or that latest one. I watched that as a sort of exercise in nostalgia, with very hopeful that it was going to be good. All these different things, but I couldn't tell you what any of the voices of the lead characters sounded like. I wouldn't even I wouldn't have the faintest idea.
I recognise Optimus Prime, but that's about the only one I recognise.
Megatron and Starscream too. Oh, and Soundwave.
I think with this character and this actor that did the voice the voice for He-Man and those other characters. For me as an 80s kid, this was telly that I didn't miss. I was in after school. I was making sure I was watching each episode. And I think not only did you love the character and the way he portrayed the character with his voice, but the reason it bonded me as a kid, and I don't know if any of you guys, it did the same, but because they always used to do that brilliant bit at the end of the episode, and it'd be like, oh, if you see a man coming towards you with sweets in his car, don't go near him. Go and tell someone in authority. Until next time, stay safe. You know, it's like that. And you know, that was another reason why you bonded with the character and you loved it, you know, because.
And the voice is one that you could trust. The voice was reassuring, John.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, and then you counter that with, you know, the voice of Skeletor, and it just all worked perfectly. And that was an era where I think we were striking gold on a regular basis, because Noel mentioned Thundercats, which is a big favorite of mine. But, you know, having these shows as a kid, you know, I would say arguably, I don't think any other era afterwards has got anywhere near what we were lucky to have in the 80s.
It was a golden era of children's cartoons.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree with that. I was a bit too old for it, though. I have to tell you, I kind of looked down at He-Man, and I was very pompous about it. I kind of like the Dolph Lundgren version, though.
I love that movie. We're just talking about that in the chat. I have a soft spot for that movie. That movie gets an awful lot of stick, but I actually think it's a decent movie and deserves the sequel.
Of the Universe.
It's all so much. It's all so much.
Collector's edition that's out in a couple of months' time. I love that Lundgren version.
Tell you, if they re-release that movie, it would do better than any movie that's performing today.
Yeah,
I mean, you're right.
A re-release and a reappraisal is definitely coming, and I do hope that John Irwin gets the credit that he deserves. I mean, he was a very shy man. They describe him in the press releases and the tributes as a reclusive man. And he was just very, very shy. The closest I think he had to a friend was Alan Oppenheimer, who was the voice of Skeletor. But Oppenheimer would do conventions and things like that, and they would often ask him, "Well, why hasn't any chance of getting John to come to them?" And he would always say, "Look, he's just too shy. He thinks that you guys don't want to see him; you want to see He-Man." And so he was happy to just completely step back from public life. He died of natural causes around Christmas time in his California home. And the tributes have been it's been slight but notable. People clearly respected this man, and I know any 80s kids just will feel that swell of affection that we always do when we lose these people.
He had an impact on pop culture, no matter what anybody says. That's what I mean. You're absolutely right. People like us that grew up in the 80s that watch this show will be feeling it, like, you know what I mean? It was a part of their childhood, and a big part of their some of those cartoons in reality shaped their childhoods.
Yeah.
Think about it.
They did.
You know, the stories, the themes, everything that we are today was because of what we grew up on a Saturday morning watching, or Sunday morning watching, whatever it was the week, and watching all of these cartoons, like, really did have an impact. People, I think, don't realize how much.
We weren't just being entertained, were we? We were being guided by John and his colleagues all the way back then. Guided away from doing stupid stuff. And,
I have to tell you, I'd rather have dinner with Skeletor than with He-Man.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting conversation, all right.
Honestly, and another thing is that, I mean, you think about it, that especially like for really young kids watching this, I mean, it's a very empowering show. It's not that He-Man and Adam were different people. I mean, the looks were even a little bit similar, but he holds up the sword and he has, "I have the power." So it's telling kids, no, you have the power to accomplish these things within you. You don't have to become something.
I never looked at it like that.
You don't have to become someone completely different in order to, live life and be, it's like you have it within you. I mean, that's incredible.
It's about empowerment, isn't it? And the striving.
That's a great message for kids.
Netflix has a documentary about the making of He-Man, right?
Well said.
Yeah, it's really good.
All the way from the toy up, right? And the I Have the Power comes from the market research that 8-year-old boys want power. Right, so literally, maybe I have to say, all this stuff happened much more simply than you think, but it was a real. That document is worth watching because it's a real stroke of you see the genius happen. That why it lasted forever, right? There's so many things like I always read an old copy of SFX magazine on Sabbath. Like I picked out one from 2007. And there's so much stuff we just totally forgotten about, right? Because this is something we remember forever for a reason, because there's a real spark of genius in it. Also, I tell you, this just is a very deeply erotic image. It does look like he's stroking a phallus, in silhouette, right? He's grasping.
He's not taking up the modern
he knows what he's doing.
Only Rabbi would think of that, like, though.
Thank heaven.
I don't want Rabbi in charge of the reboot.
No, definitely not.
Thank heaven for He-Man, the Masters of the Universe, and John Irwin, who sadly died recently. Otherwise, how would a generation of kids have ever been able to stay on the right track? I say how. I think that it was some of it was them. But some of it was absolutely the fact that we got public service announcements to help keep us almost on the right tracks. And in some instances, Chris, these PSAs, they continue to guide us into adulthood as well, don't they? Depending on which part of the world you're living in. And that's kind of where your entry for this week in your strand comes in, isn't it?
Yes. So today we're going to talk about raising young people. And specifically problem children and ways of avoiding this. Just roll it, Dan, and then you'll see where I'm going with this.
Take notes, everybody. This is advice that will stand you well as you make your way through life. I think whatever age you are.
Oh yeah, and this is also translated again. So the original's in French, so it's got subtitles. So yay,
magic.
Oh yeah, and if anybody's traumatized, tough.
I'm traumatized already.
You little.
It's a trailer for a horror movie.
You wouldn't get away with it here. You won't. Get away
Oh, that's awesome.
That is brilliant.
That's great.
I couldn't believe it when that caption came up.
I can't. That is brilliant.
Fuck you.
Brilliant.
Yeah. I said I would lighten something up with the somewhat of a parody at some point, especially after last week's, and next week's will be traumatizing as well. So every second week we're going to do something on the more amusing side. But yes, so yeah.
It's brilliant.
I thought the father was going to hit the kid or something, and was going to be about child abuse or something. Don't kid your kids or something.
I was a little distracted at first because the dad looks a lot like a grown-up Will Robinson from Lost in Space.
Yes, Billy Murray. I was thinking of that, Dan.
Well, and if you didn't notice at the end of it, the caption at the end is from those Alberta ads where the lady getting punched.
I thought it looked like a young John Bon Jovi, the dad, to be perfectly honest with you.
I've raised several children, as I do mention now and again, and two of which were twin boys. And if you can imagine that thing with the lad lying on his back, doing the dying fly thing with his arms and legs, imagine that going on in stereo in the middle of a packed shop.
Yep.
That's why they created tasers.
Let me tell you, there goes the name. Oh, it's all good again.
Oh, fantastic entry into our PSA segment there from the mighty Bolstrek. Where would we be without those to guide us through life, Chris? I think you're doing sterling work. We thank you. And I can only imagine what the people in the live chat have got to say about all of that. So I think we should go and check out whether anybody, whether maybe following our advice already. They've nipped out to get a packet of 3 in, just in case they get lucky. Later on, let's go and find out. Let's go and find out in the live chat.
I'm going to tell you how it's going to be. With Scotch's lifetime guarantee. Take what you want both night and day. Then re-record, not fade away. Re-record, not fade away.
If it's Scotch, it's guaranteed for life.
Yes, we're boldly going again here on the Spacebook Live. Thank you, everybody, for your comments so far. See what people have got to say about all this nonsense. Hail, everyone, says Lord Thoth. Good to see you, mates. And Darren M's in too. Hail and howdy from Darren. We're going with the Wild Wild West route again. Cinnamon Toast Crunch is in too. Hello there, folks, says CTC. Cinnamon, good to have you back. And PD Rich is in the live chat as well. Lots of familiar faces here and icons. Michael Q, he's in as well, and so is Lucy Meow there too, Rabbi, with a screeching cat. We haven't had any cat-related PSAs yet, have we? It's got to be, I bet there is a few.
Cats control everything.
Poor Bill Murray, says Michael Q. Poor Bill Murray. I don't feel too sorry for him, Rabbi. I bet he's still got a few quid tucked away under the mattress. What do you think?
Well, what happened to him?
Being in Ghostbusters Frozen Empire.
Forced to be in Ghostbusters fucking the second one, Frozen Empire.
That was it. I mean, like, they paid him. He took the money.
Colin says, I'm old. I don't think I've ever seen the real Ghostbusters cartoon. It's a cracking little tune.
Sacrilege.
That is a cracking. I'd like to see that come back as a cartoon.
Yeah.
So would I.
Well, it already did in like the 2000s. I think.
Yeah, but that version of it. That version of it.
Pete Venkman would be a transsexual now.
Or do a crossover with Men in Black.
Slimer would be wearing lipstick, you know.
Yeah, it could work. It could work. Elon Musk's Star Trek has stimulated conversation and imaginations here in the live chat. I don't know how much truth there is in that, how close Elon Musk may or may not be.
If it was, though. Like, again, if you
couldn't be any worse.
Bundled into X, I'm just like, I'm there.
I wouldn't. I don't think. Listen, I think a billionaire owns Star Trek. No, again, if he's a fanboy, we need to move away from fanboys buying franchises and IPs and writing.
Very true.
For them. You know, that's why all these are in the shitter. We got to stop thinking like that. I don't want. Listen, if RTD goes and they decide to move forward with Doctor Who, I don't want Steve. It's rumored about Stephen. I don't want Stephen Moffat. I don't want anybody connected to Stephen Moffat or RTD working on Doctor Who ever again. Then we have to move away from that.
I think Doctor Who's going to go dark for a couple of years, right?
Bad idea.
I don't think there's. I think it's gonna. Look, the world is massively changing, and there's a denial, right, of it going on right now, and the people holding on last is the BBC. They're like, no.
As Cinnamon reminds us, though, John, as Cinnamon reminds us here, sci-fi has always been queer. What are we complaining about?
Yeah. Revisionist history from the geniuses who tank every IP.
That's right.
Vanessa Law says, I watched 5 episodes of Discovery and gave up. Haven't watched anything new since, except for that unification short. I think she's got the best end of the deal.
Space Nine. Listen, you only need one Star Trek show. Go and watch Deep Space Nine. I was foolish back in the day. My favourite show is still Voyager. I'm not going to swap.
Oh, you've always loved Voyager,
yeah. But the best Trek is definitely Deep Space Nine.
Remember the Jason Alexander Voyager?
Yeah.
Where they're like the con men?
I think.
No, that was Next Gen. Wasn't it?
No,
that was Next Gen, where he was the no.
No, I don't know. PD Rich says there's a rumor going around that Starfleet Academy hasn't actually been greenlit, but they have got a cast and they've been seen on set.
They're filming it. They're filming it.
Yeah,
they filmed it, and it's got Robert Picardo. But just look at the cast. I'm like, I've never seen it. You could just look at the cast photo. You can have your DEI checklist, and you can tell exactly what it's going to be like, and it's going to like. I think it's going to be. I'm eating the words that I said last week, where it couldn't get any worse than Section 31. No, if they actually release this is going to be horrific.
What they don't understand,
it might get Batgirl.
Batgirl.
There's a good chance of it getting Batgirl.
What they don't understand is that with Starfleet Academy, they're meant to take the best and brightest. So they haven't figured out that these people are going to be clearly morons. Yeah. I did see another channel. I think it was Midnight's Edge, where they talked about it, and they said, look, they can't do anything about writing off Starfleet Academy. It is coming, but they've said everything else has been shelved.
Yeah, I think this is this and season 3 of Strange New Worlds. So
it's coming. It's a threat.
Yeah, I think they're going to happen. There's nothing to stop it. But I think that this is the last gasp.
And I would say this and other IPs, they need at least a 5-year break.
Yeah, 5 to 10. I think what will happen is Starfleet Academy. It's going to be like a with that Marvel show. They all dropped it once. There's going to be no announcement, no nothing. They're just going to sneakily just drop it onto Paramount Plus and hope that nobody notices, and then people will notice, and then we'll have videos.
Well, to be fair,
in universe, the original version of Discovery by what's his name? Incredible work.
Brian Fuller.
Brian Fuller is just finishing its 5th season. Quentin Tarantino's coming to a season of his Star Trek, right? Which will have Leonardo DiCaprio guest starring, playing the actor he plays.
It could have been creatively explosive, but they had to strangle it in its crib, didn't they?
Creative views on Star Trek, which is kind of what Strange New Worlds season 1 was like. It was a new creative view on Star Trek.
I mean, this is why I don't think that Starfleet Academy is going to do anything to either enhance or harm Star Trek at this point, because that Strange New World season came out. That first season was really, really good. That had no impact on broader popular culture at all. So when the second season came out and was pretty bad, it didn't change the game. Remotely,
nobody sees it.
Nobody watches these fucking shows.
All I will say about Star Trek, right, is I can understand it's a sci-fi show, so I've got to believe certain things are unrealistic. But in Discovery, I think I gave up in season 2 when they were trying to convince me that a fat bird can run around that deck of that shit.
Oh, right.
Absolutely mad.
That's never happening in any multiverse.
Actually, on the first episode of season 2, when you had Lieutenant Mansplainer, who wouldn't listen to the stuff.
The one that
about her. Remember him? And he
died.
Oh, it's a bloke. Yeah. First episode of season 2.
Because that's a vision of the future. Oh, he's dead. Okay, well that's good. Let's laugh at him. He's a mansplainer. I made it as far as the beginning of season 2. I reviewed the first episode, then struggled through a few more, and then as soon as they introduced the non-binary character, they started using the pronouns.
I stayed way longer.
Things went way downhill.
I saw the first couple of episodes this last season.
Well, somebody tell me.
I was like, fuck me, I can't.
So was Captain Georgie? Was she? So I people have guessed that she shows up in Discovery again, which is why the time frames don't add up, and she ended up okay.
Yeah, apparently the Guardian Forever, which was actually realized quite well, sucked into the 22nd century.
Oh, so that's why that makes sense.
Is this bad universe one? Is it?
Well, because it didn't add up. Although I saw some pictures, and I'm like, oh, I guess it's a thread in Discovery that nobody.
I found it impossible to care. Adam Sandler. We talked about Happy Gilmore 2 there, and those first pictures that we've got of the sequel to the 90s comedy classic, and he definitely divides people in the live chat here on YouTube and Rumble. Some people really love his films, and other people just find them pure cringe. The word cringe comes up a few times. That's comedy for you. It's the most subjective thing of all, I think, John.
Yeah, Mr. Deeds is another one that I love as well.
I like that.
I always enjoy that one. Yeah.
Yeah, good
I'm
stuff.
enjoying John Turturro's in that. I'm enjoying him in Severance season 2, just playing right now. That's pretty darn good. Weird show, really weird show. I like weird shit. It's a weird show.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch says, I watched Big Daddy growing up. Now, when Cinnamon says that, I think of the great big wrestler with the white hair, Big Daddy, but not he means the Adam Sandler film Big Daddy.
No, Big Daddy.
That's a good movie.
Was he in the Dandy or the Beano?
I remember Big Daddy.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was. He cameoed, didn't he?
Oh, Big Daddy was awesome. Everybody loved Every school kid loved Quentin Crisp and Big Daddy. That was what
Scuba Steve is here.
You're quite right. Michael Q was born in 1996. What?
I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that.
You're just a baby. Get out of here. You're embarrassing us.
And Colin Archer reminds us, the BBC are going to try and hustle us into paying the license fee to get Netflix.
If you have a Netflix subscription, fuck
off. These are only whispers. If it happens, people will absolutely go mental about that. It's the last gasps of a desperate BBC.
Actually, Dan, just a question for all of you here. We're talking about streaming services, right? Do you think do you think the whole streaming model now has become tired and old now? It's run its course.
It became old,
like
3 years ago.
Yeah, it needs to adapt to add in appointment TV.
Like, they're not making money.
Really missed a trick. If they dropped on 7:00 Saturday night UK time, which was 5 p.m. Saturday, New York time, they would have had global watch-alongs. Yeah, they really would have. It would have been appointment TV. That's what streaming needs to into. I think look, the BBC. I think streaming BBC needs to become like a YouTube like app where it's completely driven by an open algorithm. What is most popular gets funded.
I saw one thing that I think was kind of cool, even though I haven't been a wrestling fan in literally 35 years. I think apparently people still watch the wrestling in very large numbers.
Yeah.
So I guess Netflix now has a deal where they are the home of WWF.
So I've heard.
I guess it's WWE now. That's how old I am.
Yeah.
I guess Raw and SmackDown and whatever their show is, they are live on Netflix. And I did actually, I was looking into it. I'm like, and they've got all the old ones. So I went to like Royal Rumble 1991, which
that's cool.
Live. I don't know how I ever took it seriously, but I watched him like, I was actually going through it. I'm like, okay, yeah, he's dead. They're all dead. It's actually, this is, I could imagine Netflix stock went up quite a bit after this, because I think that might be one of the hugest individual gains in streaming history, where you not only do you get the live shows, I guess the old pay-per-view main events, they're also now going to be exclusively live to Netflix. So if Netflix actually did finally, realize they have to buy one of the existing studios, just Netflix take Paramount, please.
Please.
Then Netflix is the biggest. I don't think Netflix ever had any. They were
the establishment in Britain, which includes the media and the sort of the political setup and the banking, they're really struggling now, because they can see the way the culture is completely changing, and they fear it, and they fear him as well, and the impact that he's having over there, and the impact that he's having here too.
And if you look at.
It's like that bit at the end of David Lynch's Dune, right, where Paul Atreides' forces are approaching on the Emperor, and they're all sitting around this weird little pyramid, going, all looking very grumpy. All his generals like down, as they know the end is coming. That's what it's like with the establishment, right? They just know they got. Even Labour knows they haven't. Trump's been president for 11 days. And he's made England look so ridiculously backward, right? When things start paying out, and they're going to, right, in America, and you're groveling in the gutter, eating shit,
They're clinging on to the idea of a license fee model and basically having it as a bolt-on tax. It's a tax. If they do that, and they're going to try, because it's just the latest of several harebrained ideas they've had about extending the natural lifespan of the license fee. If they do it, it's completely mask off as this is a tax simply on owning a piece of electronic equipment, on owning a television.
And you'll be thrown in jail under your current leader. And sorry, Vanessa, I saw the DS9 question.
Yeah, if you comment on it,
the MACKIE was set up in season 2 of DS9.
I was explaining that to her.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Sorry, I see it right there. And they also they worked the MACKIE into the final episodes of TNG as well.
Yeah, one of them.
But yes, again, if you don't pay your tax, you're going to jail.
Yeah.
They do put people in prison for not paying their TV license. It does happen quite regularly. It's mostly women as well.
Nobody, and I've said this before. Nobody over here gets that because before cable, we had just over the. Well, we still have over the air if you want to get it. We weren't charged or put in jail for over the air. It was paid with ads. And the first time I heard about a TV license was probably in the 90s. So one of the, may have been CBS or something, did a documentary on people being thrown in jail for not paying their TV license. I'm like, you guys, like, when it comes to entertainment, you guys are so backward. You had the license, you had the video nasties. Apparently, at one point, you had paid TVs where you used to put your change into the TV to even use it. I'm like, really? I'm like, wow. Like, we didn't have, like, Gary, you didn't have that either in the US. We had cable and we had over the air.
If it's a choice between spending money on a TV license fee and a night with a high class prosy, I'd go with the prosy any day, because even if they have got something, they're going to tell you beforehand what you stand a chance of catching. You don't know what you're going to catch an hour with the BBC.
But here's the thing: people in the UK and Ireland wouldn't mind paying a TV license if they weren't paying through the nose for streaming services and different platforms. The quality of programming is not justifying the cost that they're transferring to the consumer.
You're right.
So then on top of that, but I think governments like the Irish government are trying to do a similar thing as well, trying to put some sort of, because they want to phase out the TV license, but they still want to, if we don't have a TV in our house, they still want to charge us for electronics.
Yeah, it's a tax on having a television.
So, but I look at the only way I would agree to do that, to pay for that, is if streaming services became cheaper, and they'd have to come down massively cheaper. Because
the prices have been ticking up slowly, haven't they? John, what were you going to say?
Yeah, and jumping onto that, I mean, I agree with Noel there that they're all going to try it. And just to make a few points. Firstly, I always laugh at the BBC coming cap in hand and saying we're skint, when they've got vast amounts of cash and they've got corporate structures in place to get income in. Exactly. And you know, on top of that, they could strip out a load of the woke nonsense that they keep shoving down.
The DEI into both departments, you're saving billions.
And then the other thing I would say about dropping streaming prices, that's never going to happen. And I'll tell you why, is because with the exception of Netflix, all of the streamers, and I'm talking about Amazon Prime, I'm talking about Disney Plus, Paramount Plus, they've all been running at a loss of billions of dollars since they set them up. They're just not profitable because the difference, and they're starting to figure it out now, the difference between them and Netflix is Netflix effectively, they ask these studios, can we buy your programs and your movies? And then people watch it. And then they then start getting more of an uptick in their stuff. And those studios make more money. Whereas you've got the Disneys of this world, it's all exclusive. It doesn't go to Netflix. It doesn't go anywhere else. So they've cut off their revenue streams because they just wanted to be the top dog in the streaming war.
Well, all they have to do then is to make quality product then. And then they wouldn't have these issues if they were making quality product in the first place.
And they're not going to do it now.
If the BBC wasn't shoveling constant shit, nobody would be complaining. The trouble is they just make lefty shit.
The BBC think that by paying money to have their corporate ID being sort of just slightly repointed, and by making all the right noises and being seen at the right international fairs, that they can step up to the international arena. And it isn't like that. And people can spot phonies a million miles away. And when you have to go cap in hand creatively and financially because of a lack of confidence or simply because you want to play with the bigger boys, it always looks a little sad, doesn't it? It looks a little sad.
Dan, I remember about 10 years ago, just looking into your stupid license fee because I found it curious. I went onto the website just to see what the options were, and this is how clueless your BBC license police are. So they had an affordable option, and the regular option is just ridiculous. So okay, what is this affordable option? So I was looking at this. It may have been around 2014, 2015. So the affordable option was only available on black and white televisions. So
yes, that's
you had
right,
to have a black and white TV, and this would have been around 2015, when smart TVs were a thing. So, and I'm sure this is how clueless they are. I'm like, oh yeah, Granny's going to have her black and white TV so she can pay it. And also I get mad for you guys when I see Dr. Nutty prancing. And I'm like, okay, people went to jail so this jackass could preen on his TV show.
Yes.
That's sick. Like that is beyond sick.
Yeah.
I'd like to say that particular person in that particular show is the worst thing on BBC television like that. But Chris,
but look what they've done to their IPs.
There's far worse.
Dan, look what they've done to their successful IPs. Top Gear, gone. Question of Sport, gone.
Exactly.
EastEnders is on its last legs. It's coming up to its 40th anniversary.
Still alive, it's beyond me.
And
they
Doctor Who.
60 billion on a set for it, didn't they?
And
they have a modest success in Shetland. They ruined that as well by replacing the men with women and turning it into an ideological detective show. And it's just one of a number of shows.
I just want to mention another show as well, Match of the Day, right? And this is where I get really cranky.
Don't watch Match of the Day anymore.
Because Gary Lineker, thankfully, they finally said, right, he's got to go. So
the biggest wanker in Britain.
So they're replacing him with two women to present Match of the Day. And I was listening to Matt Letizia a few weeks ago, and he's absolutely right on it. He said he got cancelled because he said when he was at Sky Sports, he said he didn't agree with women commenting on the men's football game. And he said it wasn't sexism at all. He said it was because he had played the men's game. So he knew the ins and outs of the game and he could comment on it. And he said, likewise, he wouldn't go to the women's game and commentate because he's not played the women's game. But interestingly, what you find when they do the women's football, you don't see blokes in there. It's all one way. And it's all because so you don't see blokes being told, oh, are you going to come across and commentate on
because I haven't got a license, I don't watch TV. But my family, my brother, my mother, my extended family are all massive sports fans. So every time I go to visit any of them, it's always sport on. More often than not, it's either cricket or football. And you're absolutely right. The ladies' cricket was on the other day. Wasn't a geezer in sight. You see the men's football or the men's cricket, and it's wall to wall chicks.
Yeah, and it's all part of their policy. And the trouble is, I've said to you before, Dan, my dad worked for the BBC for 30 years, and I always had as a kid immense pride that my dad worked for the BBC. And friends at school loved the fact that my dad worked for the BBC. He was like a local hero because he worked for it. But now, even before my dad passed, he was saying to me, it's not the BBC anymore because of what they've done to it.
Doesn't recognise the values. Nobody does. Problem beings in the live chat. Hi Lee. He says hell will freeze over before the BBC steal money from me. I won't be paying them for their evil woke propaganda and anti-Semitism. Semitism. Rabbi, help!
Get the
out. Anti-Jew content. There we go.
Oh, by the way, Dan, did you see that one of the other writers that they announced, right? He's done a poem on YouTube. Yeah, called fuck something. It's called, right? But he's another activist. He's an anti-white, anti-Semitic. Like this is RTD going. I reckon. Can I just say this, Brie? And this is just me speculating. But with him bringing Juno Dawson in and these type of writers suggests to me that this is his last season, and he's just saying, fuck
I
it.
think so too. This is like but the thing is, he didn't think this will go this way because this was all done a year ago. Mm-hmm. He thought everybody was going to love his new era. They thought
it's bigger. I think it's bigger than that. I think it's a. Similar to anybody who gets of their mindset, who's committed to their ideology and to being a kind of a troop on the cultural front lines of this war that they view that they're raging on the chuds, on people like us. They view it as they're pressing on with this stuff, and it's going to be deployed sort of immediately, and it's going to be a thick, concentrated stream of ideological nonsense, and they're going to employ the most radical people they can possibly get and just push and push and push and push in the window that they've got, and then hope that before the shutters come down, all their troops can make it safely behind the barricade, and then they've got control of the media, which they have got control of the media. I don't know how it's looking in America. I think things are changing in the media there too, but in Britain it's a waste of time. They really have completely seized control. Going back to the live chat, lots of comments from people done with a license fee. But yeah, thank you for that, Lee.
With America and England is there's a much larger amount of people in England still use legacy media, whereas in America it's dead. Nobody.
It is diminishing in Britain. It is diminishing a lot in Britain. It's shrinking and shrinking and shrinking, even amongst the elderly. The old elderly who don't take a newspaper anymore, bit by bit, the 70-year-olds now are waking up. They don't understand why the things that their children or their extended family or even their grandchildren are talking about, they've got no idea what they're talking about. News items, because they haven't been. Well, I didn't see that on the 6 o'clock news. I didn't see that on the Channel 4 news. And for a while, it was a case of, it must be made up. Now they're starting to realise things are being kept from them, from us, by the mainstream media.
Sky News is on the verge of fucking collapse or something.
So they say.
Well.
Going online, aren't they now?
You're amazed that you were able to survive after they made that soap opera in the 90s with Bennett Aronovich. What was that one? Where it's a sci-fi soap opera?
Jupiter Moon.
That was it. Oh god, it was awful. It was awful.
It looked like it was filmed at a disused leisure centre.
Unbelievable.
Matthew says the TV license becoming tax will prove definitively it's a state broadcaster controlled by the government.
Oh, and somebody is trolling me with filth in the chat.
Panasonic.
We'll sort that out. Don't worry.
I just want a quick comment to what Noel and Chris were saying about you were characterizing it the new writers as like what's going to turn out to be the last gasp, and I agree. But remember at the time when this was written, as Dan says, like a year and a half ago, before season 1 had even debuted, in RTD's mind, this was just an escalation, because he thought, oh, okay, I did the first date, now I can introduce more wokeness and ideology and stuff.
He thought he softly got
he thought this was going to go great.
I think
who knows?
He's not looking at people like us. He's looking at the broader population, and he and people like him view them as their betters, and they are educating them on. They're not just.
They also believe that the
in a
public
moral
are
sense
behind them on everything.
Yes.
And you can see by Doctor Who's ratings that the public
I think that they believe. I don't think that they think that the public are behind them, but I think that they believe that they know better than the public, and that eventually they will thank them for having led them into the light. I think that's I think there's a difference there. I know what you're saying.
I agree. I'd agree with that. I would agree.
I can't wait to see them fall flat on their face. And there are people within Disney, the money people, people that are probably going to be fired for greenlighting this in the first place. Remember how Disney was apprehensive as woke and idiotic as they are? Remember how they waffled on putting Echo out and dropped it all at once? I guarantee there are people within Disney that are absolutely dreading putting this out. And I can't wait for RTD to finally fall flat on his face. This will hopefully be the end of his career. He can go back to making some.
Well, Shooty put out a comment today. Was it today? He says that the series is coming very soon. So it's either coming next month, this month, or it's coming in March. But I think it's going to be. I think it's dropping. I think it's dropping as fast as they can get it.
One day, gentlemen and ladies watching. One day, everybody, this worm will turn. It really will. They won't.
One go.
They won't be laughing. The smile will be wiped off their faces one way or another, either financially or ideologically.
Doctor Who has been ruined in the process. Do you know what I mean? It's sad that a lot of fans, that show that they grew up with, is a shadow of its former self. Do you know what I mean?
Every dog has its day. Every dog has its day, mate. The tide is changing.
Well,
I
Dan,
feel
and something that you always every year, talk a little bit about on Type 40. In 2 weeks, you've got something that I used to love going to every year, the Gallifrey 1 convention. I haven't been in about 5 or 6 years. And this year they've got like Stephen Moffat and Julie Gardner and Joel Collins. And if you look at all of the list of all the panels, you couldn't get more agenda driven and woke. And so I'm really, part of me is curious about, is it just going to be everybody there kind of praising them, or is it going to be they're going to acknowledge that this show is on its last
It's hard to say. I think the convention circuit, from what I've seen and heard, the bigger conventions, because Comic-Con, it has sort of come out of the other side, hasn't it, of its sort of lull period, and it's kind of becoming something else. And it's also almost sort of being given back to comic book fans, Comic-Con, and gamers and cosplayers. So I think it's in a transitional period. As regards those sort of events that are geared around one particular fandom, I think they're going to be, for the time being, kind of keyed to the identity of the location that they're being held in. So I think that there will be a trickle down with that. But when you've got a generation of people who've come to a particular franchise for a particular brand of entertainment as they perceive it, it's slightly different. It's as if the people running all of these franchises have created problems that, in essence, that us as a community have got to sort of learn to live with and learn to rub along together with, which, whilst I don't think is necessarily... It's not unfair. It's not. I can't cry foul, because we should have learned to get along with one another, really, and learn from one another. As regards the IP itself, what it's actually done is torpedoed them all at exactly the same time. So we've got nothing. We've got no common ground to go to say when we disagree on this. To go to this common ground and say, "Oh, but what did you think of it last week?" Mainly because it's never on. None of these shows are ever really on anymore, because there's nothing to bond over in that respect. And then odds are, whatever some idiot like Shooty Gatwood, for example, has said in the press, has almost certainly been divisive, or simply been beyond the pale. So things that are impossible. People either will agree with that public figure, lock, stock, and back up every word they say, or they'll be the way that we are and have the... Some of it comes with age, of course it does, but have the wherewithal to say, look, I don't agree with that. That's bullshit. I don't care if that person has 1 million followers on Instagram and is leading a big show. They're still talking out their arses. People like us are going to be able to say that. There are lots of people that are afraid to say that, or genuinely feel that these actors and creatives like Russell and various others, because he's not alone, that they are in a class above them and they do not answer back to their betters. The world is becoming the world of the Hunger Games, stylistically and ideologically, and that is something that I feel we should resist.
Yeah, and I think you're right, Dan, and I think I've never known a time in my lifetime where the actual creatives are actually hostile from the beginning to the fans, and that's various IPs and movies, and it's I'm sure that in the past there were always the odd arsehole who basically, you know, said something out of turn, but this is constant, and this is not only it's our way or the highway, but they're also they're being antagonistic from the word go.
But and they don't want to entertain us. They want to indoctrinate us. They want to dominate us. I want to go back to the age where the obliging, busty girl above the counter just wanted to give you a couple of hours worth of pleasure that evening.
Sign me up.
From your mouth to God's ears.
Thank you, everybody, for the fabulous comments in the live chat so far. We have got one more item to get stuck into, so keep the comments coming. And what a great discussion so far. More on the way.
Psst. Got any dirty videos? Bet you haven't seen this. The Scotch Video Head Cleaner. It cleans up dirty pictures caused by dirty video recording heads. Oh, glory. Look at that bone structure.
There she is. All of this could be solved, of course, very simply by bringing back the heroes. Bring back the heroes, everybody. Bring back the heroes. And I'm thinking particularly of characters like these. People with their hands on their hips, legs akimbo, or just with a particular skill set that'll scare the life out of you. Brown trousers time if Sammo Hung is in the... Is it Sammo?
It is.
He's in the alleyway with you. Yeah, so, yeah, I loved all that stuff. And they don't, in all sincerity, they don't necessarily have to be male, these heroes, but there has to be a certain sort of swagger about the entertainment, doesn't there? I think this week we saw how far we have yet to travel back to this time when One Star was out promoting well, it's kind of a make or break movie, really. It's out on Valentine's Day. And it's the 35th entry, believe it or not, in the Marvel Studios cinematic universe. It's called Captain America: Brave New World. And its star, Anthony Mackie, who's the 45, 46-year-old actor. He's old enough to know fucking better, basically. A solid actor I've always liked. He expressed some, should we say, beliefs about the qualities that are essential to playing the character of Captain America. And it's, to say that it's raised eyebrows is putting it mildly. There's been a massive impact to this statement that he made. Now, was he put on the spot? I don't know. He was talking to a podcast, I think it was, in Italy in the run-up to the launch of this film.
On to get that response.
Yeah, well, yeah.
What I mean, like, and what circumstances Captain America isn't really about America? A smart and well thought out response. He's just mad that Trump won the election.
That's how it sounds.
That he won it in every way possible. The popular vote, the whatever, the electoral college, everything, and he's overwhelmingly approved. People like the anti-woke shit. Right.
I did wonder, Rabbi. I did wonder, had he simply, because not everybody is a public speaker, are they? Now, this man, he's hired to read the stuff that's on the paper, go out and jump around a little bit, and to take his money and go home.
You knew what you were saying.
You can't be that dumb unless the bubble that they live in is now so enclosed. Like, nobody who has even the faintest idea of what's going on in the world in terms of pop culture right now is going to think a comment like that is going to go over well. And I could just imagine, again, the money people at Disney that, the people that actually care about it. As soon as they saw that, it's kind of like, Rachel Zegler. Like, I guarantee as soon as they saw that, oh, Jesus Christ. Like,
Captain America anyway. I don't know why they're calling him Captain America. He ain't Captain America. Steve Rogers is Captain America. I'm sick of all of this. Hold on. I'm sick of all of this race swapping crap, right? He's not entitled to call himself Captain America. The fucking Steve Rogers is Captain America, right? I hate the way you do this. Make a brand new character with him if you want him to fucking be successful in movies, right? Stop giving him hand-me-down.
We were perfectly happy, with with Anthony Mackie playing Sam Wilson, the Falcon. The Falcon is a character that's been around for 50-odd years too. We all liked him fine as he was. There's no market for a Captain America movie that hasn't got Captain America in it any more than there is a Black Panther movie without Black Panther in it.
So they'll make that movie instead of making him Captain America. I don't get the point.
Rabbi, what were you saying?
I think the replacement Captain America, the Wyatt, what's his name?
For me, Captain.
Oh, you're talking about Wyatt
Russell. Right. He was a really good Captain America. Right. Genuinely, he was the best thing about the Falcon and Winter Soldiers show. And I felt the scene where he was being taken down by them was representative of America being taken down by BLM and Antifa.
I think you could be right. Let's take a look at what Anthony Mackie actually said in context here and see if it plays any better.
Right.
I guess it's no.
For me, Captain America represents a lot of different things, and I don't think the term, America should be one of those representations. Like, it's about a man who keeps his word, who has honor, dignity, and integrity. Someone who is trustworthy and dependable. It's kind of
how to kill a franchise.
America isn't like a term,
an aspect of a dream coming true. When I was a kid,
what a day!
All coming true. When I was a kid,
I wonder, is he circling? Is he just really bad with words? Because I think what he's trying to point to here, or maybe he's trying to dig himself out of a hole already, is point to an American dream that would translate globally. That's one reading I had of it. But by the time I got to the end of it, he seems so uneasy. And he's
I'm sorry, he's anti-American. Like a lot of these lefties, say it out what they are. Anthony American. Right, he's lived in that country. He was probably born and raised in that country, and for him to make a comment like that is a slap in the face to the American way.
It's naive. It's naive at best and offensive at worst. Let's hear what else he's got to say.
All of us as actors, I believe, want to get back to that day before someone told you no. When you look out your door and you see a 5-year-old kid with a stick and he's slaying dragons to save the princess in the tower, that kid really believes there are dragons out there. That stick is really a sword and he's really trying to save that princess. And then one day somebody told him, no, there are no dragons, that's not a sword, and that princess is not there. And all of his little dreams were dashed. So, as an actor, I feel like our job is to get back to the day where we see that dragon and we slay that dragon to save that princess. And that's kind of what this movie was.
Oh God! It
just doesn't wash, does it?
Basically, he's saying
rambling about being shy because he got himself in a fucking in a spot, as you said. He dug a bigger hole for himself. He fucked up. He knew he fucked up, and he tried to get around it.
Gary,
what hit when they reshot Captain America twice?
4 times.
What were you going to say, Gary?
No, I was just going to say he sits there saying, "America, you suck, but please go see my movie."
Yeah.
It's as if he forgot.
I mean, I'm going to say something quickly here. I'm going to do a quick role play because this is how it should go, really. When I'm Anthony Mackie or any of the other actors and I'm on stage and someone says to me, just throws a question at me and goes, Captain America is horrible, isn't it? Captain America is a great character and I'm honored to play him. We don't like the character at all. Captain America is a very good character and I'm honored to play him. That's
exactly
it. There's nothing more you need to say. That's
exactly.
I
think if you ask a question about paedophilia, you might distract him.
And I mean, just to finish up what Noel said a few minutes ago, and I'll make my point is, I know for a fact that they changed it because of the whole woke DEI era. Because when you go back to Captain America, the first Avenger in that film, you have the scene where they're in the train carriage and Bucky picks up the shield. Now that is effectively telling the audience that down the road they're going to follow the comic book, and Bucky Winter Soldier is going to become Captain America.
And it makes so much more sense as well. At least he's got the same type of powers.
And he's got a super strong arm.
Oh, it hurts my head.
Look, Gary was right, and I'll make this point, and I'll let someone else sort of jump in. But they've shot it 4 times. You know, I've seen people in the US talking about this, and effectively, because of the reshoots, they will need to make a minimum of $1 billion just to break even. It's not going to happen.
And that's a low ball.
Harrison Ford being Donald Trump. That's what they've been trying to cover up the whole time. It's not Harrison Ford and Red Hulk being Donald Trump.
Don't forget, this was originally going to be called New World Order. Why was it going to be called New World Order? Everybody, I wonder. But then it changed, you know, and it's now this title.
The Red Hulk, you know, for all their shoehorning the Red Hulk into every bit of advertisement, supposedly he's only in one scene.
Yeah, I've heard that as
really?
well.
Yeah.
No way. So you're telling me they're making such a big deal out of the Harrison Ford character, but he's only in one scene?
Well, no, I mean the Red Hulk, not necessarily Harrison Ford.
Okay, right.
Harrison Ford's probably in it a lot, but the Red Hulk's only in one scene.
But you know, this was the one that, you know, they were hoping they could salvage, because let's have a look at what's coming after it. What have we got? We've got
what's coming after it? I don't even know anymore.
Ironheart.
They know it's a write-off.
And the race swapped Wonder Man movie.
So
that actually might be good.
And this is what I've said before.
Terry McCallis is on the Vision. That was going to be good.
But this is what I've said before. Marvel in particular, there's a lot of people saying that they're changing course and they're going more central.
They're trying
going forward, but the trouble is that's going to take you at least 5 years minimum.
You're right.
You write stuff. So you've got to get through all this sludge before you can even see anything.
What they should do, if they were smart, stop production on everything. Focus on X-Men. Maybe set it in the 60s or the 80s.
Oh, I don't want them anywhere near X-Men.
And then think about it for don't do anything for 2 years. Just if you want to do one movie to wrap everything up, fine. But end it. It needs to breathe and it needs to be original. And this the Fantastic Four movie that I lost all interest when Pedro Pascal was.
What's that not the issue with DC and Marvel is that over the years they've tried to make all these movies connect to be one big jigsaw puzzle. Yeah. Maybe it's time to just start doing, just independent, just single movies.
That's why I'm so interested. That's why I'm so stimulated and on board with everything that DC are doing at the moment. I'm really excited by it. In a lot of ways, it's because it seems to be both in a narrative sense and a creative sense. Everything seems to be very different from the other parts of it. It seems like they're doing all manner of interesting and creative things.
And another thing,
we got Thunderbolts in 3 months, for which there's zero buzz.
Exactly.
Thunderbolts is the one I think it looks like the most fun.
Oh, really? Okay.
I mean, I don't know. They're probably calling me, but it's the thing that looks least woke. And I won't go to cinema see it. I'll watch it on Disney Plus, or I'll start watching it. I tried that with Doctor Strange. I got half hour in 3 times. I'm like,
given the fact that this year, you're talking about it starts sooner than that, doesn't it? With the Daredevil TV show, I think that's Born Again starts sooner rather than later. I can't remember exactly when that's on. I think it's in March, and it's all expanding out from that. So there's Daredevil carrying on after the Captain America movie, and then there's the Thunderbolts. You think
there's a lot riding on that Daredevil show,
and then there's Fantastic Four. I think that they're now at a point now where obviously Fantastic Four, if they fuck up this, they are screwed long term. Fantastic Four, but to be honest, absolutely every step from here to there is pretty crucial when you're in as precarious a situation as Marvel Studios are with this stuff now. In my opinion, John.
Dan, I mean, again, just a quick point what Noel said about the fact about they've interlinked everything. What's worse about it as well is the fact that they do movies and shows, so you'll have a movies drop and you have to have watched about 2 seasons of it.
I couldn't be done with any of it.
Follow the process.
I had to dip on it all.
Yeah, and also with that Fantastic Four movie, I mean, I'm out, because for me, there's no way I'm going to accept Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards. So.
I still can't help but laugh every time Pedro Pascal. Really?
I've said this before.
way.
I am so goddamn sick of Pedro Pascal.
Yeah,
I've never seen Hollywood so desperate to try and turn somebody into a star. I'm like, no, he sucks.
How quickly do you think? How quickly do you think after that quote, that meeting on that stage with that podcast in Italy on the promotional circuit there with Anthony Mackie, how quickly do you think it took for Mackie to leave the stage and for Bob Iger to give him a call? How long do you think that was?
Probably right after. These people are dumb, Dan. Like, they're just dumb. Like,
it does look that
there's
way.
no other way of describing it other than
we should go back, Dan. We should go back to that clip and see if we can see the exact moment when Anthony Mackie feels his cell phone vibrating in his pocket because Bob Iger is calling him.
Or feels the turtle begin to show its head. Lucy Meow in the live chat says Mackie wanted to pander to the foreign audiences, and presumably he thought that this audience doesn't like America. I hadn't looked at it that way, but Lucy's probably got a point, Gary.
100%, Lucy.
Like America.
Good job. That's totally it.
Yeah, but
the
if
job
he's a
as
proud
an actor
American,
is to read a script.
But hold on, if he's a proud American, right, he shouldn't. Again, that wouldn't wash with me. You know what I mean? If the crowd didn't like America, he's an American. He should be proud to be American, no matter who the president fucking is. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely, absolutely. Particularly if you're talking about American values and things and American dreams, John.
Yeah, and I would say, look, Captain America is one of my favorite Marvel characters, and I love his comic books. They're superb. But I didn't need. Nobody has ever needed it throughout the era of Captain America for someone to say, "Oh, anybody can imagine themselves being Captain America." Any skin color, anybody can love the character. I'm not American, but I love Captain America. I love everything that he stands for. I love the outfit. I love everything about it. And that first movie, I still adore.
Excellent. It defined the MCU to a great extent. That first phase was just everything was great.
Yeah. And what does that first phase have in common? No Disney.
Yeah, absolutely.
Paramount, wasn't it? And Universal on the Hulk film.
Although it was completely creatively under the control of Marvel, Paramount had the distribution rights.
Yeah,
they've got more source text than probably anybody else that's ever attempted to bring any project to the screen. Decades of fabulous comics building these characters, stories that you can cherry pick from, and they started to cock it up pretty early in the day, but they were learning by their mistakes, and the casting of Mackie as Sam Wilson, Falcon is a character people love, and pairing him with Chris Evans as Steve Rogers, just beautifully chosen, both of them, and they've managed to screw it up this much in just a few short years, to the point where a man who people did like in a role they appreciated him can walk onto a stage and say something as ridiculous as that, and for the 4 or 5 days for him to be flayed alive through the media, and deservedly so. You can't say shit like that on a public arena and expect people not to react, not to recognise it, not to receive the signal that he's sending. I think he was right the first time, despite this statement that he's put out in the defence of this. So he went onto Instagram. This was a couple of days later, and Anthony Mackie said, "Let me be clear about this." He said, "Let me be clear about this. I am a proud American, and taking on the shield of a hero like Cap is the honour of a lifetime. I have the utmost respect for those who serve and have served our country. Cap has universal characteristics all over the world can relate to."
Why didn't you say that in Italy?
Yeah.
And do you know what I find amazing as well with this whole DEI woke era is, like you just showed there, Falcon is a fantastic character in the comic book. I love Falcon. And instead of actually promoting Falcon and bigging up Falcon, they decided to go, no, what we're going to do is we're going to swap the white guy out and have Falcon.
That's what it's down to.
America.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing. And it's like, you know,
Kill
if you don't
Whitey.
have, exactly. And if you don't have faith in these fantastic, you know, black characters from the past and other characters, then, you know, at the end of the day, why are you even bothering to make the movies? You know, it's ridiculous.
Good
because
point.
nobody's going to want to go to them.
Well, you know, the Red Dwarf people always said that when they were like taken out and dined to make an American version. They're like, well, it doesn't need to be set in a spacecraft, does it? It can be on a city, and it's like, well, okay, and yeah, the cat can just be a crazy guy with teeth, right? Well, why don't you just do it, Red Dwarf? I understand.
I think that actors who are out there still making statements like this, I'm going to focus on the statement that he made, not so much what I assume he really believes, but the actors who are still out there making statements like this don't realize that all the cover that they've had for the last few years to make statements like that is gone.
They
don't have the media coverage.
Oh, see what you mean.
They don't have, you know, all the everybody's going to back up because everything is exactly right, Rabbi. Everything has changed, but they don't realize yet that they don't have the cover anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly
and they're always being filmed line for line, whereby in the past, maybe a video of somebody on stage saying something like that would become part of an EPK and it'd be taken away and that would be edited and tweaked, and a truncated version of that would be put out to the press, to the Associated Press or Reuters.
Why not make a Falcon movie, like a spy movie, like they did with...
I've no idea. Well, Rabbi, the first 10 minutes of episode 1 of Falcon and the Winter Soldier was fucking brilliant. Make 6 episodes of that. It was incredible. Just 6 episodes of that. And this guy, he could have come round for Christmas dinner as far as I was concerned. And I'm not even American. It was brilliant. But by 3 episodes in, I'd stopped watching that thing. It was terrible.
Right. I think most people dipped out at the same moment.
That was the show, wasn't it? Where basically he couldn't get, even though he's a well-known worldwide international superhero, he couldn't get a bank loan.
Right.
That was the one, wasn't it? Of course you wouldn't.
Is it because me is black?
No reason.
Yeah.
You know what the lunacy though? This film has always caused a bit of fan debate for the fact that they did race swap. And then before the movie is about to be released, he goes then and adds a grenade into the whole situation. So therefore, anybody that was willing to watch this movie, he just killed it for them.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
We'll just sit back and watch and enjoy the train wreck.
Impact this movie.
There you go, Chris.
Yep. Just enjoy watching the destruction because.
But you know what'll happen though? This is the thing. It'll fail, and then who'll get the blame for it? We will. The fans will, not him.
Well, he will. He'll get the blame. It'll be his fault somehow, and then us.
I guarantee he's been called into some office, and I wish there was a video of it because, damn, that would have been funny. But just I just enjoy watching these people own themselves. They deserve it. Watch them destroy their franchises. We don't care. They don't deserve our support. I will be enjoying watching people not watch this crap.
Well, you know, we're all racist. That's why this movie will bomb.
Yeah, because he only got 20 for anything.
Good luck to Marvel Studios, I suppose, when Captain America Brave New World is finally released, version 4.0, on the 14th of February 2025. Good God. It's not going to end well, I suspect, gentlemen. This is going to get pretty bad. Yeah, there's no way. I haven't been to see any of these for years now, and to be honest, I don't miss them. But there are people out there who do still turn out for every single one. It's just obviously it's dwindling bit by bit by bit. It's going to be a long, protracted death, I think, for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. People like characters like Anthony Mackie. I know he does TV shows and things here and there, but they're going to go down with it. You know, I think that people who've sort of escaped or tried to escape, they may just about manage it to escape to retirement with a bit of dignity intact. I'm looking at Robert Downey, although maybe not.
Oh, Dan, Robert Downey. Oh my God! It was. Here's the Robert Downey story. So this is a guy that we all had respect for because we all remember what Robert Downey Jr. stood for in the '90s. It was not very good. Then there was this redemption arc where he becomes, the most popular, highest paid actor in Hollywood. And then I think for a lot of us, our last image of Robert Downey Jr. is going to be on that little Kamala Harris Zoom call. This sickly looking old man who looks like he's 20 years supporting Kamala Harris. But no, he honestly, like, he looks like he's about 80. I think he may be back to the things possibly things he was doing in the 90s, because something's happened. That is not a man. So you have
Scarlett Johansson look worse in that ad, in that thing.
Yeah, it's.
How do you make
you know what? This calendar year alone, just in 2025, there's 3 MCU movies and there's 6 new MCU TV shows. That's too much.
6.
So I just checked. There's the new Spider-Man show that came out. There's Daredevil in March, Ironheart in June, something called Eyes of Wakanda in August.
Oh my God!
Marvel's Zombies in October and Wonder Man in December.
Well, you're telling me there's no Agatha season 2?
Sorry, John. No Agatha.
Well, I'm assuming because they thought that just going with Deadpool and Wolverine and shelving everything else was going to save them.
That's how it seems.
It's gonna come out now all at once. Oh, I haven't watched Disney Plus since I told them to go shove themselves back in 2022. But actually, this is gonna be hilarious. This is like, who's gonna watch Ironheart, for Christ's sake? Like, this is gonna be awesome.
And have you seen the Ironheart character is meant to be like a 15-year-old girl or something? But in the pictures that I've seen, the screenshots, the woman that they've got playing it looks like she's around 45. I don't know what they're doing with it.
Are they filming all these in one day?
God knows.
You asked
do you think they're doing that with Doctor Who? Do you think they'll drop the whole season in one day?
No, not a chance. They can't. They haven't got the room to breathe to do that. I'm going to give the final word to Problem Being in the live chat there, who says Mackie should be cast as a race swapped Condor Man.
Absolutely.
Why not?
Insanity.
Good stuff. Okay, thank you for the comments on that one, everyone. Let us know where you stand with Captain America: Brave New World. Are you double out on anything MCU, particularly if you've got to pay extra for it, or are you there, whatever the weather, when they open in the cinema? More rather you than me. I have to say that
I haven't watched since Iron Man died. But that to me was when the franchise finished. In fairness,
yeah, exactly. That was the end point.
The natural end point.
There's one thing that really annoyed me about that. He should have made it. Right, so because he's so smart, incredibly clever, Tony Stark. When he did the snap, that he got rid of that 5-year time gap, and it amalgamated all the possible universes into one new universe. Right, and everybody's fate would have been roughly where it was, and only he could work that out because he was with the genius of Tony Stark. But they didn't do that. They just snapped. It was really kind of boring.
I wonder if there's a universe out there that exists where Doctor Who's not being showrun by an absolute cock.
I think.
That's the MCU all sorted out, guys. I think we'll send it to them. Send this episode to them. See what they've got to say. They're bound to get back to us. I'm sure. I'm sure it'll go down really well now. We've burnt up their entire year's worth of content. It seems like they're going to be trying to sneak out across streaming platforms and into cinemas. I don't think it's going to end well. This show has ended a lot better, I suspect, guys. Thank you for a fabulous conversation. A couple of hours worth of great entertainment, I hope, for the people in the live chat. And everything knocked into shape, I feel, before we begin another week and all the nonsense starts all over again. I'd hate to think what they're going to I hate to think what they're going to throw at us by next week. A Star Trek show, maybe about an all-dwarf lesbian crew. I don't know. The sky's the limit, John.
At this stage, I wouldn't pour it past Alex Kurtzman doing a Star Trek show with a bunch of furries at this stage. That's how bad it has gotten.
There was a furry thing, wasn't
I know
there?
we're having a laugh about it,
Was there?
but we as fans now, right, have to send a clear message to these people that we're no longer going to tolerate their nonsense and the destroying of. Listen, I sent a video personally to RTD and said, I said, how you fuckface? Can you explain why you've got doing out awesome work?
That'll do it. That'll win him over, mate.
Don't care. He is a fuckface to me, because the bottom line is he has zero respect. He has zero respect for us right now. He has zero respect for the franchise. All he wants to do is push an agenda, push a dangerous ideology, and I'm sick of it. We shouldn't have to tolerate this any longer. We've gone through it long enough. We thought this was going to be a phase that would burn out in 5 years. What are we 12 years in now? I mean, Jesus Christ.
Now we're not far away from like AI. Like, so I think you did a stream the other night about Blake 7, and somebody mentioned Suchi and Sweep and Su Yin. So I think you could probably get AI to make Sooty.
AI is going to be the downfall of all of these people, because AI will be able to do what they've been failing to do, which is put out quality content. And that's all we've asked them. It's not as if we're asking for anything too difficult here. They've been able to do all of these things in the past. Why they can't do them today is beyond me. Because, so why we tolerate that and let our standards lower as well is, we've got to start speaking up.
My opinion is they're already doing Chat GPT to make their scripts because they're that awful. I wouldn't be surprised.
Listen, they can't be any worse than the direct they put out.
I'd agree with you. John. That's the way it's gone. You wouldn't be surprised if half of these hacks are using AI tools now.
Look at Section 31.
Yeah.
You trying to tell me that wasn't written by Chat GPT?
I mean, they can't take
Chat GPT.
I think it would have been written, and then he just added in all the woke characters, basically, and all the nonsense. So
I was going to say they can't take all our toys away, but they've had a fucking good try, haven't they? Yeah.
Oh, the space hopper.
Who knows? Who knows? Or dares to dream, as a rabbi is fond of saying. Thank you, everybody, for all the comments. We've got some good ones here in the live chat. They're still coming. Someone has something on Russell T. Davis. Speculates. Problem being, in the live chat, AI is the natural mid-level, suggests Lucy Meow. Could be. And nothing surprises Stephen Braddock anymore. He's in the live chat on YouTube. Thanks for watching, Stephen.
Yeah,
we've got
coming soon.
We've got PD Rich. He's in a fit of laughing emojis there, Noel.
That's obviously about Fisto. It's got to be.
Still laughing about that, yeah. Why not? And yeah, we've got lots more of the same. So we're happy to amuse everybody here with our various conversations. I've been out to the MCU since WandaVision, says Colin. I think that was probably the last real creative thing they did.
Do you know what? I actually thought WandaVision was unique because they tried something different. And whether people like it or not, I liked it for the fact that it did try something different, and it wasn't woke. I don't remember it being that woke, to be quite honest. I actually enjoyed WandaVision. I know a lot of people didn't, but I did, and I'm not going to sit here and lie and say I didn't enjoy it. I did. I actually thought it was pretty interesting.
No, I thought it was okay as well.
The last thing I watched was Loki because certain people who go by the name of Dan and Ian bullied me into watching it.
Oh, Loki!
That was really bad. Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun.
What's the one thing you've watched in the last few years? What's the worst franchise? What do you think? Yeah, what franchise is being hit the worst, do you think?
Marvel. Big screen, or do you mean in the cinema?
Big screen. We've got big screen.
Star Wars.
Star Wars big screen.
Star Wars can't come back.
In the movies. Oh God, that's a good question.
Star Wars is a movie franchise that was ultimately killed on TV.
Yeah.
It's Doctor Who for me because they've actually gone back into the past to alter things.
I thought we were just talking. I thought we were just talking about movies.
Yeah, movies first, but you could do a TV franchise as well if you want. Like,
if it includes the TV, John, if it includes the TV, John's absolutely right. It's been shagged every way from Sunday. But for my money, when it comes to the movies, I think it's Marvel. I think it's the Marvel stuff because it had only really just come together and become dominant, and it looked like it was here to stay. And there was such a massive. It was bringing people to geekdom that would never usually look at that kind of material, bringing people together, uniting families, and then within a few short years, it completely lost its frame and went to shit.
Never going to come back again now.
It won't come back. Marvel, not in this form. This will go in the cinema. This will go the same way the CW DC stuff did. Eventually, it'll just all drain away. So, in movies, it's that. I think Star Wars. I think that Star Wars is. They could potentially, with the right person and the right cast and the right sort of concentrated elements, have a hit Star Wars movie again.
No,
I think the Mandalorian. I think the Mandalorian season 1 proved that.
I think the old man is with the Mandalorian season 1. The damage wasn't anywhere near as bad as it is now. The problem with Star Wars, which I guess isn't the same as Star Trek and Doctor Who, but Star Wars, if you look at everything they put out on film and on TV, I'd say about 4/5 or about 80% of the Star Wars franchise is complete trash. Whereas, it is. Like,
you're right.
What do they have? They've got 3 brilliant movies, the most recent of which is 42 years old. Yep. They had Episode 3, which I like. They had Rogue One, which I like. That's Mandalorian season 1 and 2. That's all you have for good Star Wars. Then you have for bad Star Wars, which goes back to 25 years, 26 years now. You have The Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, The Force Awakens, like the sequel trilogy, everything else that's been put out on Disney Plus. And I think the Acolyte is so bad, I don't think there's any coming back from that. So I
think the Acolyte was over the edge. Right, I agree with you.
It was like it's the equivalent of peeing on an on fire corpse while pooping on it and then blowing it into the sun.
You see, if it was any other time and it wasn't Lucasfilm, now owned by Disney, and Kathleen Kennedy had cleared off with all of her cronies, I would be talking about the fact that you could fix Star Wars because you could do Knights of the Old Republic set thousands of years before. Or you could do something like a New Republic where you set something like thousands of years into the future.
Exactly. It's a lot.
That's what you can do. Whereas, Star Trek you can still fix because you can get out of jail with it by basically doing what they're kind of quietly doing now and saying it's in a different universe. It's a multiversal thing. It's in a separate universe. But going back to Who, just going into the past. That's where the others haven't done that. It's just vandalism.
Yeah, Star Trek did that. Star Trek did that a lot.
What I think would be awesome is if when Star Trek finally saves itself, and I think it's Star Trek and Marvel, I think, are two that can potentially save themselves. Well, it would be hilarious, and I'd love them to do this when Star Trek finally gets saved and good content comes out on Paramount Plus or whatever it is by that point. You have 2 brands. You have Star Trek, and then you have alternate archive Star Trek, which is put in its old, like all the Kurtzman verse, all that, just put it in its own separate thing. It's like alternate Trek. We've disowned that. Different universe Trek.
You can see the 2 titles on Paramount Plus, Star Trek and Crap Trek. Or
Star Trek, and we're only putting this out for legal obligations, but we don't recommend watching it. And every episode comes out with a disclaimer at the beginning. We're sorry. We're so sorry. We have to put this here again. We are so sorry.
It's sad though, because they're, as I said, they're the 2 Star Wars as well. You have to put up there 3 iconic IPs, and they're absolutely being destroyed by people who are absolutely clueless and just want to stop. I mean, when I saw that interview with Alex Kurtzman, we all saw it. He was at a Comic-Con, did an interview. And he said, Star Trek, I was going to use Star Trek as a platform to push my bullshit. That's when everybody should have known that was it for Star Trek. Like, that's not what Star Trek is for. It's not to push your ideology, right? It's created its own ideology over time, and you've got to follow that. If you don't follow that and add to that, well, then you're not the showrunner for the show, right?
I just came up with a brilliant idea of how to remarket Kurtzman Trek. When things do turn around, every Kurtzman Trek after the warning, there's an option where you can play a riff track instead of listening to the episode itself. That would be awesome. Like turn it into Mystery Science Theater 3000 back when it was funny.
You could be right.
And just do that with every episode.
Really, what you could do with it. You know, I would hire Red Letter Media to do a Mystery Science Theater for all of Kurtzman. I don't think they'll get through it, but I think that would really work.
No,
that's the only way you can actually use it. Again, this is not happening, right? But if Elon Musk had bought Paramount, right, you could have watch-alongs of like Star Trek episodes and movies on, and like have a open chat at the same time. It'd be awesome.
Oh yeah, like they have on Twitch.
Right. It'll be absolutely awesome. And
God, that probably would work.
So do a commentary with Mission Impossible movies. That'd be awesome. It would really add value.
I'd love to keep Picard as part of the Picard the third series.
Exactly.
I
would keep Mandalorian season 3 and the couple of episodes from Book of Boba Fett. I'll cut them out as their own interlude.
Well, no, what I was saying, and I said this 3 years ago when Star Trek does turn around. No, Star Trek Picard is rebranded and retitled as Star Trek: The Next Generation Season 8 because that's what it is.
Yeah,
I agree with you with that.
Star Trek Picard, the only season, the final season.
And they even had a launch pad to go into Star Trek Legacy, after it.
And they still can. They still can in my fancy universe. They still can.
I think section 31 might have killed that.
On the success of Picard season 3, and they didn't. They dragged their feet on it now. So if Legacy was to come along now, there's not the same buzz for it.
Well, section 31 has damaged the Sunday.
Yeah, I agree, Chris.
Yeah, it's one of the worst receptions I've ever seen at the wrong time. So I think because anybody that wants to buy Paramount, CBS, Paramount, whatever they're calling themselves these days, they've got Mission Impossible, but that the whole 90% of that entire company is Star Trek. And when you put out something like Section 31 and Starfleet Academy, which also has to come out, I think those two things may have damaged the deal, which is very, very sad. Which I'm like, Netflix,
I think you're right.
Netflix, buy Paramount. You should have bought Fox when you had the chance. Go back to just letting people make good content. Stay the hell out of it. Buy Paramount. Give Star Trek a break of a few years. Then relicense it. You know what? Actually, here's an idea. When you license Star Trek, don't bother licensing the Kurtzman verse because it was done under a different IP anyway. Just leave them with the Kurtzman verse. You can have that trash because it's not real Star Trek. Yeah. Because it was created under a different license in the first place because they were two separate identities at the time. Just make it go away. Buy the rights and throw it all in the bin. Do a Catwoman. Just ban it from existence. Take everything and burn it. And there you go.
I want them to do a reality series about the 16% of people who actually liked Section 31.
No, you don't want to know about that.
Hosted by Will Wheaton.
There you go, John.
Okay, they should have on my Imaginary X streaming service. They should have a platform for all the fan films as well, right? And like legitimize them and encourage new fan films. I was just thinking today, I haven't seen good fan films in a long time. Do you remember that Batman one where he ends up being versus Alien?
Yeah, in the alley. Yeah, that was great.
I haven't seen good fan films for ages.
Well, isn't that because the Star Trek crowd sued a bunch of guys that had made something that was better than that, and they had produced on that?
That was because of Axanar.
I think from I forget where I'd seen it, but someone was suggesting that the potential new owners of Paramount, they're looking very, very closely at that previous Roddenberry Vault, Kirk and Spock mini episode.
Yeah, I saw something about that.
Because that's got something like 12 million views. and they're looking at that and they're thinking, you know, and you'd look at it as if you're an intelligent person, you'd think, well, hang on a minute, that emotionally engaged so many people in a few minutes compared to how many seasons of Discovery, Strange New Worlds, Section 31, all that crap.
The penny will drop.
Well, John, here's what I would say, and this is the last thing I'll say on it. If Star Trek ever does get saved under new owners, what I would actually do is officially license Star Trek Continues, because that is the best Star Trek we've had since real Star Trek ended.
I agree.
Maybe even take New Voyages, but definitely Star Trek Continues. That becomes official Trek. Allow them to make new episodes, because you have people that do it.
Amen.
I'll do the fans on for an Axanar as well.
Yeah, get the fans on board for this, for the 60th of Trek as well, by just announcing, look, we're not putting anything else into production at the moment, but we're gonna, as a sign of goodwill to get you back on board, we're going to work on remastering DS9 and Voyager.
And even if they don't manage it, we are going to have to celebrate the 60th anniversary of Star Trek here, all across YouTube. Everybody band together and do that, and pick up some of the slack throughout our wind down here. You've seen me put the links up to follow the various panelists here across social media. Most of them are on X and the various YouTube channels. There'll be links in the description as well. And if you check out all the channels that this one's connected to, you'll see most of the channels there. If they're not already there, they'll be appearing in the next hour or so. So if you want to get in touch with any of the guys, we've got Noel here from the TARDIS Sound. Thank you so much for your company, Noel.
Thank you for having me on.
Come back again soon. John Yulden there from Sci-Fi Chronicles in the far corner. Good to see you, mate. We've got the Rabbi from Another Planet up late, and but just about still with us. And we've got Bolstrick there with Frank as ever.
And quickly, so hashtag justice for Frank.
How's it going?
He's in prison right now with ICE detainees, and he's a goat, so he needs your help.
There he is. He's not looking happy at all. So we're keeping the campaign going.
Into the country illegally, he deserves to be there. So
no, Frank's fine.
Thank you.
Does he still have his filthy Eastern ways?
And thank you to Gary Akers, the Retro Doc, as well.
I'm on Sci-Fi Chronicles when John gets my checks.
Yeah, you're never getting them, mate. You got to earn your.
Come and follow the guys. If you're not subscribed here already, what on earth is keeping you? This is great conversation. This is solid entertainment. You don't get this on the BBC for your license fee, do you? Please like the video. It does help more than you think. Subscribe to the channel. Check you're still subscribed. And give that close to bell a good old whack so that you get all the notifications about what we're doing next and when we're doing it. But I think that is time now. It's time for us. It's time for us to fly. Fly, he said. Just the good old boys. And heaven knows where we'll be this time next week. What they'll have ruined next for us to sort of burn up. But we'll see you out there somewhere sometime. Catch you later. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
I'm pretty sure I'll pass on first.